It is Wednesday, July 20th, and this is the iPhoneography podcast. Hey, everyone. Greg McMillan here, and this is going to be a different show than what you're normally used to because, unfortunately, Dave could not make it tonight. He has some things going on that he needs to tend to, so our content will not be as much as it normally would be, but we're going to just talk about a couple of things that we had scheduled, and anything else that we were going to talk about tonight, we will do again on the next show when Dave can be with us. So I was going to talk a little bit about iOS 16. I had put the beta in my iPhone XS Max, and now this is the public beta. And there was the developer beta. It went through 2 versions, and then the developer beta 3 is actually the same as public beta number 1, I guess. And when I put the public beta on my XS Max, it was really stable. It was pretty good. I had heard through on Twitter and things like that some of the things that were in the first 2 developer betas were quite broken. There were some real issues going on there, but somehow when this public beta came out, it did come out pretty darn solid. So, I mean, the only thing that I experienced that maybe was an issue was a couple of crashes. One was an issue with Instagram crashing, and now Instagram put out an update. I think it was yesterday or today, and I don't know if that's going to resolve it or not. But I'll be honest with you, I don't spend a lot of time on Instagram anymore. I'm more of a Glass user now. I prefer to use Glass. And just to go on a bit of a tangent here, yes, Glass is a subscription-based thing, but I said years ago that I would have paid Instagram to keep their ads out of it, keep all that stuff out of it, and just let me pay for it, enjoy it. But I mean, it's all but been ruined for photographers, in my opinion. Like, it's just everything's all video related, and as a photography buff, it's not really the place for me to be right now. I still have it, I'll still post there once in a while, but all my recent stuff's going to Glass. I just love the interface. They've got a nice web interface, iPad app, iPhone app, all this stuff, and it looks really good and works really well too. So that's my little tangent on Instagram. But the other place that I noticed a crash was in photos. Oddly enough, I didn't think that would happen, but it crashed twice when I was in my recent photos view. And, so I open it up, and it goes, when it opened up in the albums view, where you can select the album you want to look at. And then it was fine for a bit. So that happened twice. And I don't know, there's a part in the feedback thing where you can look at all the issues that they have that are known issues. And I didn't take a minute to look through that to see if that's one of the issues they've got there. If it is, then fine. If it's not, then I'm going to give them some feedback on it. One of the coolest things that I've seen about iOS 16 is the way that you can remove a subject from a photo. And I mean, this is bloody crazy, amazingly good. Basically, you open a photo, and it could be, it doesn't have to be a portrait mode photo. It could be any photo at all. And it uses AI and machine learning and all that stuff. You just tap and hold your finger on, say, your dog. You got a picture of your dog, and you'll see these white lines, kind of almost like it's electrical shock type of thing, but it's not. It's very subtle. But it's finding and picking out the subject. So you tap and hold, and as soon as you see those lines pop up, you can let go, and a little pop-up dialog will come up and give you the option to copy or share. I think those are the two options. So when you hit copy, then you can go to an email, a message, like an iMessage, or like a private message in Twitter, Instagram, any of these places, and you can paste it in, and it's just like I'm not sure what the file name is. Maybe it's a PNG. I don't know, but the background is transparent, and you just have the cutout of what it is that you copied or you selected, and it works really well. It's so smooth, and there's times when you might have a little bit of jagginess, around the edge because it doesn't quite, pick it up. But it's a beta, and it's the first time. Well, no, I guess it's the third time. It's been in since day one, but since this is the third beta, first public beta, it's a beta, and I'm sure it'll get better. I mean, with a portrait mode photo, I think it works a little better because it has that depth information maybe to draw from, but it can certainly be a regular photo. It could be a photo you took on your iPhone 4. It doesn't have to be a photo taken on a recent iPhone at all. And in fact, you know what? You can even do it on a picture on the web in Safari. I went to my local camera club's website, found there's a lot of members have galleries on there. So I went to my gallery, so I wasn't using somebody else's photo. And I scrolled down, I found a leaf amongst a bunch of other leaves in the fall, and they were all kind of brownish colored. But I tapped and held on the one leaf, and it actually picked that leaf out of all the other brown ones. And that's the subject that it extracted from the photo. So it worked amazingly well. And then I was able to paste it to a message or whatever. So that is a very, very cool feature. As a photography nut, it's one of the coolest, I think. And it's crazy, crazy good. In fact, I've got my latest post on Instagram. I did it from a picture I took at a car show with a yellow Volkswagen Bug, and it was like Bumblebee, with Bumblebee from Transformers standing in behind it. And I just tapped and held on the car, and it picked both the car and the Transformer thing and extracted that as a subject. So, I mean, it worked crazy good. And I think in the post, I show the original photo as well. So that's probably my highlight for iOS 16 so far, but there are a lot of other things. Another cool thing is the wallpapers. If you've seen anything about this beta, then you'll see that the wallpapers are really, really cool. And when I say wallpapers, I should say that I mean the lock screen. The lock screen, you can make more than one now, and I don't know what the limit is on how many you can have, but I think I've only got about 3 or 4. But you can, when your phone's locked, press and hold on the lock screen, and then it pops down like kind of like if you have an Apple Watch and you want to change the face, it works the same way. You tap and hold on the face, and you'll see that it pops back, and you can start swiping through the different faces. Well, the lock screen works the same way. So then you can, swipe through and pick your wallpaper, and you can have different focus modes for each one. So if you have a wallpaper set up for work, and you want to have the focus mode on for work, then you can set it up that way. I haven't dug into that stuff myself, but the one I use mostly now is the one where the wallpaper, you can select a bunch of different photos to have as your wallpaper in your lock screen. And you can have them change every time you tap the phone to wake it up. You can have it change every hour. You can have it change every time the phone unlocks, and once a day. There's different scenarios where you can have your wallpaper change. And when I first set it up, of course, I had to go crazy, and I had it set to change every time I tap the screen just to wake it up, and that was a little too much. So now I have it set to every hour, which is kind of neat because I've got about probably 10 or 12 pictures in there. So throughout the day, every hour, my wallpaper changes, and you could set it so that wallpaper on your lock screen is the same on your wallpaper when it's awake, but you can have it so that it's either exactly the same, crisp and clear. You can see the picture in behind the icons, or you can have it so that it's kind of really, really blurred and gives you a nice, blurry, smooth background. But it's the colors, the colors are the same as your lock screen. So it's really cool. I'm going to say really cool a lot when I'm talking about iOS 16. I can just see it. But the other thing about your lock screen is you can have these widgets, and you can have like a calendar widget, which shows your upcoming events. You can have your fitness or your activity rings. And with iOS 16, you do not need an Apple Watch to work on your rings, your motion or whatever it is, your standing and your exercise. And you can watch your rings grow throughout the day and close them, make sure they get closed before the end of the day. So that's a cool thing. And when you tap on these little widgets, they actually open up the app that they belong to. So if your calendar widget's there, you can just tap it, opens up the calendar. There's a weather widget. You can have it set so that you can look at the temperature or like one of any of the things that the weather app does. Like you've got the quality, air quality index. You've got real fuel temperature. You got just the temperature. You get weather conditions, whether it's cloudy, all that stuff. Very customizable when it comes to these little widgets. And or you don't even have to have the widgets. You can just leave that space clear. And the nice thing about some of these wallpapers or some of these lock screens is that when you have the clock on the screen, the icons or the fonts in the clock are customizable. You can have them different types, and you can even have different filters on the picture, like a black and white or a shade of something like a monotone of some shade or whatever. And let's see what else. On some of them, if the iPhone, if the machine learning picks it up, you can, and say you have a person on the lock screen, and if their head is up high enough in the screen, the clock can actually duck in behind the head, or if it's a mountain, the clock, part of the clock can be stuck in behind the mountain. So it gives it a sense of depth, and it doesn't have to be a depth image either, like a portrait mode image. So that's how crazy good these lock screens are. This is going to be a very exciting update, and I wasn't going to put it in my iPhone 12 Pro Max, which is my daily phone. But when I saw how stable it was on my 10S Max, I thought, you know what, I'm going for it because it's just that cool. Plus, there's a guy at work who has a 12 Pro Max. He put it in his, and I was asking him, all last week, did you have any issues, any trouble with it? And he said, no, everything works. So I went ahead and done it. But now here's the thing about iOS 16 public beta. Remember, folks, it's a beta, and you have to be prepared to be able to troubleshoot, or you kind of got to know what you're doing when you put this in. I wouldn't recommend it. Like, if you have a work that you use for a phone or for work, if you have I got that backwards. If you have a phone that you use for work, don't put this in. Do not do it, because there will be things that might not work, or there will be things that just won't work. You're bound to come across that, I'm sure, especially if you have, if your iPhone is for work and your employer's IT department has to manage it, then definitely don't do it. I would only do this if you have a spare phone and it's not your daily driver. And like, this is one of those things where do as I say, don't do as I do, because I'm a geeky guy and I kind of get this stuff. And if I need to, I can revert back to iOS 15.6. I guess it came out today. and I wouldn't have any issues. I could do it all without losing any data. And but it's a complex process. So if you're not into that stuff, don't update. Just take my word for it. So I mean, and it'll be out, soon enough. I'm sure by probably mid-September, iOS 16 will be out, and it'll likely be so good that I don't think it's going to have any bugs by then. Any of the apps that I've tried have worked fine. I have different camera apps in there. I have different editing apps. None of them have had any issues that I've tried, and I don't expect any of them will. So it's a pretty cool update, and of course, probably every show that we do between now and the time it comes out for official release, I'll probably have a little something to say about it, because I'll keep using it and see how it goes, and obviously I'll just keep reporting on it. So so that's iOS 16. I'm sure there's probably more I could mention, but I was trying to write down a few of the main points before I came on tonight, and so that's it. So I'm only going to go over a couple of quick little things here before I sign off. So this is definitely going to be a short episode. And I should say too that yes, it's a little late coming out, but because of the situation that Dave has going on, and he's fine. It's not him. It's there's other things going on, but we normally record on Monday night, like every other Monday night. And this past Monday night, the 18th would have been our recording date. But so we thought we could try again tonight. And he was online with me just a few minutes ago, but he had to go. So that's why this is out late again. I think our last one was a couple of days late too, but we're hoping that everything's in order for the next episode and we'll be out on time. But that's also why I'm doing it solo tonight, is just because Dave's tied up. So I hope I don't blabber on too much. I'm not used to talking to myself on these things. The only other time I did a solo show was when I was doing the Artful iPhoneography interviews, and there was a lady who was too shy to actually come on and talk to me because everybody's different. That's fine, and that was fine. So I emailed her the questions I was going to ask her, and she emailed me her responses, and I just read them out. So that was a very short episode too, but that's okay. And and this one, it's okay too. We're not going to cover everything we had planned to, but that's fine. In fact, even our recent photos are going to be put off till Dave can be here, because little heads up, our recent photos this week was going to be kind of something special, but we're going to save that for the next one. And Dave had a couple of things he was going to talk about too regarding Snapseed, and I won't go any further into that because I don't even know what it was. I just told him that, okay, about Snapseed. Okay, don't even give me a hint of what it's about, because I want to have an organic reaction to what he's going to say. That's kind of like how I like to do this. So now the only thing I'm going to do now is close off with a couple of quick little announcements. And the first one is something that I'm kind of proud of. I'm not one to, be prideful of anything, but I guess I was honored when this lady, Melissa Lee, on Twitter, put the question out there to anybody that would listen about any, tips and tricks that they have for the iPhone camera. And because she was writing a piece for Huffington Post, and she is a freelancer. So she was she doesn't work for the Huffington Post, but she wrote the article for them. And it came out today. I will put links in the show notes to both the Apple News entry for it, as well as the article on the Huffington Post website. But I thought it was really cool to be able to kind of talk about that. Now, it was an email interview, so she sent me questions, and I, scratched my head and tried to come up with the best answers I could about, iPhone camera tips and how to do different things. And then she wanted to know about editing and in the Photos app. So she didn't want to know anything about any third-party apps. It was all just strictly things that came with the iPhone. So, I talk a little bit about the camera and a little bit about editing and things like that. And there was somebody else in the interview as well that she reached out to. But I thought it was pretty cool to be able to do that interview. And, it's just a cool thing. If you ever get a chance to talk about something like this with anyone, about something, go ahead and do it, because it's kind of neat to see your name pop up in like the Apple News app or something like that. And, and she did a really, really good job of writing the article. And I'm not saying because of what I said. No, it's not it. It's because she's a great writer. I've never read any of her stuff before, but the way she put it together was just a great job. And, if you want to check it out, it'll be in the show notes. The other thing I wanted to mention is that I'm going to be on with Shane Mostyn on Saturday on his YouTube channel. It'll be live, or you can watch it on the Bloody Legends Facebook group. I think it'll be on there live. And there's going to be 5 of us, I think. So that'll be myself, and then it'll be Shane, and it'll be David Addison, Mike James, and Ralph Mayhew. And now Shane, Mike, and Ralph are all in Australia, so it's pretty easy to get those guys set up. But and David is in the UK. He's what is it? Well, he's 5 hours ahead of me, but I'm 14 hours behind the guys in Australia. So I think this is going to be quite comical, because I have to be up and online by 7 a.m. on Saturday morning. And I'm on vacation this week, so I don't even have a timetable. I have no schedule. I don't care what time I go to sleep, but I can say that I'm not a morning person. And being up, and it's one thing to be up in my when I work a day shift, I have to be up and ready, and I start work at 7 o'clock in the morning. Now, that's different than being up and trying to be online and talk sense about something at 7 a.m. on a Saturday morning. The only saving grace is that I might be able to have the Formula One practice running at the same time, and that might be enough entertainment to keep me awake. But actually, these guys it's going to be a fun thing. I don't even know what we're talking about, and I don't imagine they do either. So, when any of us get together, it's always a fun, entertaining thing to watch. And if you happen to be up that early on Saturday morning, if you're in my time zone anyway, and you want to jump in the chat, go for it. If you're in Europe or anywhere over that way going towards Australia, and if you're in Australia, it's a great time of day to be able to watch it. It's really early for me, but supper time or noon hour for people in the UK, and later in the evening for folks as far as Australia. So quite a vast time difference between everybody. But it's the only time that really made sense for all of us to get together and do that, because, early morning for me, late in the evening for Australia, it's going to be 9 o'clock at night for those guys in Australia. So it's going to be fun. And if you don't know what these shows are like, look on Shane's YouTube channel. I'll have a link in the show notes, and you can see some of the other live shows that were on there. I've been on 3 times myself. Ralph's been on, Dave's been on, Mike James has been on. Everybody that's going on has been on before, and it's always a great time. And even the chat room gets real chatty, and it's a lot of fun to be in there. And like I say, we have no idea what we're going to talk about, but it's going to be fun. So I guess that's going to be it for tonight. sorry for such a short show, or maybe you prefer it that way. But anyway, you know what? Leave us some comments on the iPhoneography podcast Twitter feed, or in the iPhoneography podcast Facebook group, or you can email me at greg@iPhoneography.ca. And let us know how we're doing. Let us know what you want to hear. If there's anything you want to hear, any guests that maybe you want us to see if we could line up, anything you want us to talk about, whether it's about editing or shooting or photography related in any way, that as long as we could do it with an iPhone, we'll be happy to talk about it and give the listeners what they want to hear. So, hit us up, let us know, and we'll see what we could do. So anyway, well, thanks for listening. And again, I'm not used to rambling on by myself about stuff like this, but I certainly try. So thanks for listening. And you can find me on Glass. My username is just @Greg. I was lucky to get my first name. On Twitter, McMillan_photo. On Instagram, McMillan Photo. And my website is mcmillan.photos. So you can find me in all those places. And you can find Dave on Twitter @ProfPod. And he is on TikTok at, I believe it's Dave Podner PhD, but there'll be a link in the show notes. I'm not on TikTok, so I'm not 100% familiar with it. But yeah, so you can find, just look for us. You'll be able to find us. We're around. And, all the links are in the show notes, and I guess we'll see you all in the next one.